People want to shit on this movie for having too much comedy, for being a horror film, but honestly, it was a good balance. Not once did the comedy outweigh the horror. Yeah, it had goofy scenes, but people need to realise that it also had really suspenseful and memorable scenes. Like the scene when Sydney sees her mother. That was kind of creepy, and it was different for a Scream movie. It just brought more to the table than just someone getting a phone call. It was deep. It felt like it had just some meaning behind it. The scene with Cotton was very memorable. It delivered on suspense. The whole thing. It felt like there was some stakes involved with the killer giving Cotton an ultimatum. The character of Jennifer was just really funny in general, and yeah, she was over the top and all those things, but she just brought a lot to the film, and I thought she was entertaining to watch. The whole thing just gave off a Scooby-Doo type vibe where it was solving a mystery, like why is the killer leaving photos of Sydney's mother? And just the whole vibe was just Scooby-Doo. I thought the character of Kincaid was really mysterious and brought a lot to the role. I just thought his conversations with Sydney were interesting, and it gave some insight into his character, and him and Nev Campbell's characters just reflected off each other. They both went through similar experiences of, witnessing deaths, the whole murder thing fucking up their mind. It was just good. There's a running theme of originality, and yeah, it was the same Scream formula of opening kill, people getting killed off, and then reveal at the end, final act. But the way people got killed in this film was just like unique, and I know I'm saying the word unique a lot, but it really was unique. Like the house explosion, that scene where she's hiding, like at all the Ghostface costumes. Well, maybe not just the kills, but just the whole setting and the situations were just different than some blonde bimbo getting stabbed, or like, you know what I mean. I mean, ironically enough, some blonde bimbo did get stabbed in that scene, but I just thought the whole build up to it was different. The whole hiding at the costumes, rather than just being in a house out in the middle of nowhere, just destined to die. This gave it just a different feel to me. I will say, the voice changer, the whole idea and concept of it doesn't make much sense. Like, how would the killer be able to get Sydney's mother, who is dead, her voice on a voice changer, and all these other characters like Dewey and Gail? Like, it's just not realistic. However, right, if you're able to look past that, it just brought a whole different ballgame to the film. Like the way the killer was able to manipulate situations by impersonating other people. Again, originality, it can go a long way, and I can look past the unrealisticness of it because I just enjoyed it in the film. I thought it worked well, and it just was a unique way to trick characters rather than just questioning them about scary movies. They didn't give a reasoning behind how the voice changer really worked, but look, I just thought it was portrayed in a fun way. The fact that the killer was taking credit for a murder that had already been established to be committed by Billy and Stu, it just changed up the whole pace of the film, and it made you question, wait, was there a third killer? What's going on here? I thought what happened in Scream happened, but now we're being told that something different happened, and it just kept you on the edge of your seat, and it felt like it was building towards this like epic finale where we just find out the truth. And I just thought that whole kind of feel and vibe really just helped the film and just played up to its strengths. Now, I'm not saying this film is perfect, because it's not perfect, but I just think the strengths of it are just completely overlooked, and I feel like the reveal is something that people dwell on, and I'm going to get into that right now. People always say this about Scream 3. He was barely in the film, he was underdeveloped, yada yada yada. We heard it, and that it completely ruined the reveal in Scream 1 by making it that this Roman guy told Billy and Stu to do it and commit this crime. But honestly, I just thought the whole idea behind the film of going back to the original and discovering something that we thought was true that wasn't true was just interesting, and I thought the whole idea of wrapping up a trilogy was just handled well, because this really felt like a conclusion to me. It felt like everything came full circle, and just the continuity was just good. It wasn't just some random killer who popped in at the end. This felt like it had meaning behind it. You can say what you want about this guy barely being in the film, but you could argue that adds to the mystery of we don't know much about this guy. But the fact that he's telling us all this just makes us think, makes us recap and reflect on what we just seen. And it makes us look back and just look at this normal, regular director guy that seemed to have no motive, who is now revealing all this. It just makes you think and delve into more layers of the film. And that's the thing about Scream 3. People say it's run of the mill, but honestly, it felt like it had layers. It felt like you really had to get involved in the mystery to like just find out all these things, and it just everything just ties in well, I think. Another thing I appreciated about this was the fact that in Scream 2, if you look back, the character of Mickey completely just disappears in the second act. So, by process of elimination, you can nearly tell that he's one of the killers. As where in this film, Roman fakes his death, and people can say that the fact that he had a fake body of himself, or he basically played dead, it was smart and unique, and it kind of made us think, well, look, it's not this regular background character ain't going to be the killer, it's got to be someone else. And then the movie just completely goes back on that and just kind of wows your mind for a minute. And it honestly reminds me of the original, the way Skeet Ulrich's character of Billy gets fake killed, and then you find out that no, he's actually the killer. It just felt reminiscent of that. The whole finale was just action-packed, entertaining. The setting of being in this mansion, again, gives off a Scooby-Doo vibe, the way there's mystery rooms and trapdoors. It was just the whole thing, the fight, the feel, the vibe, the pace. It was just entertaining. Just fight scenes, twists and turns, the way the movie switches up the pace at the last half hour, it was just good. A little detail that people don't really seem to pay attention to is the fact that progressively throughout the reveal in this movie, Roman gets more and more on edge and demented. And it was kind of the same thing with Billy in the first film, where as time went on throughout the reveal, he was getting more angry and more demented and just more psychotic. These little details just give the whole film a sense of conclusion. The fact that it just calls back to the original, it goes back to certain things and just capitalizes on them. It just utilizes the strengths of Scream 1 and kind of gives his own little kind of twist on it. I like the scene where Sydney is on set of Woodsboro and she's like back to her old house, and she just starts hearing murmurings of the reveal in the first film, Billy and Stu talking about her mother. It was just an emotional scene, and the whole kind of thinking back to her conversation with Billy in the first film, the whole PG-13 thing. That's what I mean. This whole film just gave off a sense of paying homage to the original and just wrapping up a trilogy well, tying it together. You may not like it or not, but this did tie back to the original. And that is one thing that a lot of finales just fail to do. They stray away from what made the original so good, and they just go off on this tangent, and just the whole film just doesn't feel like a finale. But this felt like a finale. Yeah, it isn't as scary as Scream, and it isn't as monumental, but the film is good. It is a good film and a good sequel. It completely captures the whole movie within a movie thing really well, and that falls in line perfectly with Scream, because that whole original film was based off of referencing other horror films and just other movies in general. The whole series is based off of that, and I thought Scream 3 did that well. It provided a good location and a good premise. One thing which I think is overlooked is the very ending, that people don't seem to really understand. People don't understand the symbolism behind that scene. She leaves the door open because she's not afraid anymore. She's going to start letting people in, and that's what that whole door being open symbolizes. She's not afraid. She's a fighter, and she's going to start letting people into her life and living her life on her terms. These are the main reasons why I think Scream 3 works and is a good sequel and a good conclusion to the Scream series. Yeah, I enjoyed Scream 4, but as a trilogy, this wraps things up well in my opinion, and I don't see why a lot of people hate it as much as they do. There's way worse horror films than this and way worse finales than this. Scream 3 is good.